All right, this is our module for test review. So we're going to perform the given transformation, so we'll graph the new figure. A translation is going to slide this because it's negative down 3 and up 4. I can do that physically and take h and move it to the left 3 and up 1, 2, 3, 4 and put h prime there. Or I can generate ordered pair rules for these. So H is at 3, 0. 1, 2, 3. I is down at -4. F is at -1, -4. And G is left 2, down 1. It's at -2, -1. So that's H prime. In order to find I prime, so in order to find I prime, I can take I and subtract 3 from the X and take the Y and add 4, which would put it at 0. So I is going to be on the axis here at -3, 0. I could do the same thing for F. F is at -1, -4. If I subtract 3 from -1, that will put me at -4. And if I add 4 to -4, that will put me at 0. So F prime is right here next to I prime. And then the original G is at -2, -1. So G prime, subtract 3 from that, that'll put us at -5. -1 plus 4, that'll put us at 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. G prime will be here. Go ahead and graph that. And it should look to be the same exact shape. The sides should still be running parallel to one another. We didn't twist it, and you still can read it G, H, I, F in that order. Translation. When we reflect over the y-axis, the x-coordinate changes signs and the y-coordinate stays the same. If you can just do these visually, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and just do ordered pair rules for all of these. So it helps to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just gonna 1, 2, 3. I'm just gonna tick off the 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5, not that. Okay. All right. So writing my original ordered pairs, J is at 1, 4. K is at 1, 2, and I is at -3, 3. Okay, so to get the new points, I'm going to perform the ordered pair rule, and that is, we'll change the signs. So J prime is going to be at -1, 4. So -1 and 4. And notice that's just, this is my line of reflection here, and that is the same distance off of that line. The original J is 1 to the right of that line. J prime is 1 to the left of that line. K will end up at -1, +2, just changing the sign on the X. And then I will end up at +3, 3, changing the sign on the X. So I prime is there. So it'll look like that. Okay, rotating 180 degrees about the origin, that's the rule where we will flip the signs. And remember, if they don't give us the point that we're rotating around, we're spinning this around the origin. So 1, 2, 3, all of these graphs just go out 5 in each direction. That'll help us name these points. So H is at 2, 0. Therefore, H prime will be at -2, 0 here. G is at 2, -3. Change the signs on both, and G prime will be at -2, +3. All right, I've done G, let's do J. J is at 5, -2. So J prime will be at -5, +2. It's going to end up right there where I was writing earlier. That's J prime. And then I is up at 5, +2. So changing the signs on both, I prime will be at -5, -2. So left 5 and down 2. So this is overlapping the other one. I apologize for that, but here it was. Okay. All right, a 90-degree clockwise rotation is the same thing as a 270-degree counterclockwise rotation. And that rule says y comes to the front and stays the same, h goes to the back and changes signs. 90-degree clockwise is going to put it here, so I will have room to write. So we need to do h, I, j, and g. The original h is at -4, -1. The original I is at 0, -1. The original j is at 0, -3. And the original g is left 3 down 5. It's at -3, -5. Okay, generating my new points. Y comes to the front and stays the same. X goes to the back and switches so that -4 becomes positive. So -1, 4, h prime. Y comes to the front and stays the same. X goes to the back. I can't switch that sign, so I prime is here. For J, Y comes to the front and stays the same. X goes to the back, so that's my J prime. And then for G prime, Y comes to the front. That will remain -5, but X switches when it goes back. So -5, 3 for G prime. And it's rigid. It has the same shape and size. Okay, so on number 5, just trying to be consistent here and realizing that it might be a little difficult for you to read what I'm doing because it gets a little small. I'll just do it on a piece of paper so that you can see. But our translation rule, we're going to add 1 and subtract 2. So the whole thing will slide right 1 and down 2. I will list the original pairs. K is at 1, 2. J is at 3, 2. I is at 4, -2. And L is on the y-axis down 3 at -3. So I'm going to use this rule, add 1 to the x, subtract 2 from the y. So K prime will be at 2, 0. J prime, add 1 to 3, I get 4. Subtract 2 from 2, I get 0. I prime, add 1, that's going to be 5. Subtract 2, that's -4. And L prime, add 1, that's 1. Subtract 2, that's at -5. And now I'll just go ahead and plot those points that I just generated to come up with our image. So on the x-axis, 2, 0 is K prime, 4, 0 is J prime, over 5 down 4 was I prime, that was prime, and over 1 down 5 is L prime. So we didn't spin it, flip it, we just slid it. So the orientation is the same. All right, going over the x-axis, you can just physically fold that over the x-axis if you like. I'll go ahead and write the ordered pairs just to be consistent. So J is on the x-axis at 2, 0. K is over 5, down 1. L is also over 5, but it's down 3, and I is only over 2 and down 1. When you go over the x-axis, x remains unchanged, and y is just going to switch out its signs. So J prime will stay 2, 0. K prime, x stays the same, 5, y will become positive. L prime, x stays 5 and y becomes positive, and then I prime, x stays the same and y becomes positive. So 2, 0 is here. This point is also J prime. 5, 1 is here for K prime. 5, 3 is up above it at L prime, and 2, 1 will be here for, I guess that's I prime. Just having a little trouble reading the letters, but there you go. All right, a 270-degree rotation around the origin. It's going to go counterclockwise, so 90, 180, 270. It should end up here. Those points are E, F, and D. The original E is at -1, 4. The original F, -3, 2. And the original D is at 1, 1. A 270 rotation, Y comes to the front and stays the same. X goes to the back and swaps its sign. So E prime, that +4 comes to the front, the -1 goes to the back and changes signs. F prime, the 2 comes to the front, the -3 goes to the back and changes signs. And D prime, the 1 comes to the front and stays the same. That +1 goes to the back and switches out. So over 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1 is E prime. F prime is over 2, up 3. And D prime is over 1, down 1. It's right there where I was writing. My apologies. So our triangle looks like this here after that rotation. Okay, all right. Reflecting over the line x equals 1, remember that x equals 1 is a vertical line. And so this is our line of reflection, and I will just do this one physically. So F is 2 boxes to the right of that line, go 2 to the left, and this will be F prime. G is 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. G prime is there. E is 2 to the right, so 2 to the left. Notice E was directly below F. It's still going to be directly below F. And then H was 1, 2, 3 to the right, so 1, 2, 3 to the left, and H prime is here. So we have our quadrilateral. Okay. So we're trying to describe the rotation. Notice that all of these points don't have the tick marks, so there are pre-image points, and these with the tick marks are the image points. So let's just start with A, for instance. A went from 5, 1, both positive, to it became a -1 and a -5. Well, what did we do? We swapped out the 1 and the 5. They were both positives, and now they're both negatives, and we switched the signs. So we swapped out the X and the Y and switched the signs. And that's going to be A, our first rule. That is a 180-degree rotation rule. Okay, find the coordinates for only F prime. So F, 1, 2, 3, 4, F is located at 4, 1. We're reflecting over Y equals -X. That's the rule where you switch them and switch the signs. Oh, you know what? I realized I did something wrong over here. Hopefully you caught it. I traded the 5 and the 1 and switched the signs. The Y came to the front and the X went to the back. That was wrong. That was not the ordered pair rule. This was our ordered pair rule. That's not a rotation though. That's a reflection over the line Y equals -X. So that's most likely a typo. Let's talk about that in class together, okay? Sorry, here. All right, so this is going over the line Y equals -X. This is the rule we use. So F prime will be at 1 comes to the front and becomes negative. X goes to the back and becomes negative. So F prime would end up down here, but what we want is the ordered pair, the coordinates. So write the coordinates for Q prime that show a 90-degree rotation about the origin. I don't really need the graph here, 1, 2, 3, 4, except to get the point. So Q is located at 4, 0. A 90-degree rotation, this is our ordered pair rule. Y comes to the front and switches signs, but I can't switch the sign on 0. X goes to the back and stays as is. So if I rotate this 90 degrees, it would end up, if I spin it, sure enough, Q ends up 4 up the axis. That would be Q prime. All right, we want a 90-degree, select the coordinates that show. Let's change this rule and let's just say, let's find the coordinates of P prime after a 90-degree rotation about the origin. So P is located at +5, -5. P prime, 90-degree rotation, Y comes to the front and changes signs, X goes to the back and stays the same. So that -5 comes to the front and becomes positive, that 5 goes to the back and stays 5. So P ends up here at 5, 5, which sure enough, here's P, just follow it with your eyes. If I do a 90-degree rotation, it ends up at the top of the box, which is where we're saying P prime. This is P prime. So this is the answer, the ordered pair, or at least how I modified it. Okay, write the rule. Notice it goes W, X, Y, and V. That means this is a translation. This is just a slide. And this one, if you look carefully, has the primes. So how are we moving the original to here? Well, just pick a single point. Let's look at W and count. I had to go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to get above it. So to the left, we're subtracting 7 from X. And then from there, we're going down 1, 2, 3. Down 3 would be Y minus 3. You could test that for another point if we do the same thing, say with V. If I go to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then down 3, sure enough, so that rule works. Okay, so this looks to me like it's a reflection across a line. Initially, it looks like that, but then if I stop and study it, I don't know, maybe it's more like a rotation or a spin. And some people have a hard time with that. So let's just pick a couple of points and see if we can figure out what the rule is. So the original S is at -3, +3. S prime ended up at -3, -3. So this looks like maybe we kept everything the same and just switched the sign on the Y. It's a little hard to tell when the numbers repeat like that though. So let's go ahead and let's just look at R. R looks like maybe my best bet. R is located left 3 but up 1. So I have some different digits there. And R prime ended up left 1 and down 3. Left 1 and down 3. So if I look at this one, it looks like Y came to the front and switched signs and X went to the back and stayed the same. Would that work here? Y came to the front and became negative and X went to the back and stayed the same. That's my rule that I used, and that rule is a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. This one, can you see that X folded down to become X prime and the other two stayed put? So we're simply folding that triangle over this line. So this is a reflection. You always have to tell which line. Over, that's a horizontal line. It's hitting the Y-axis up to, over the line, Y equals 2. Number 6. Is it a rotation or is it a reflection? If you have trouble, let's test some points. I'm going to do T. T is, I'm not going to do T, and here's why. Because it's right 3, down 3. I'm repeating the 3s like we did before. Let's start with S. S is right 1 but down 1. S prime is left 2 and up 1. So that looks like we just traded them out. Let's test R. So these were my primes. This is my original. R was left 1, down 4. R prime is left 4, down 1. Sure enough, I just traded them. So the rule is to just trade places with the y and the x, and that's a reflection over y equals x. So it was folded across this line right here. The r folded onto the r, the s onto the s, the t folded out to reach that t, okay? All right, now we can just use the rules. So we're looking for p prime. We're gonna subtract 5 from the 4, -1, subtract 3 from -7, that'll put us at -10. I wanna find k prime. When you go over y equals x, you trade places. So k prime will be 6 comes to the front, -2 goes to the back. If you rotate 270 clockwise, that's the same as 90 counterclockwise, and that's the rule for 90 counterclockwise. So J prime, I'm gonna bring Y to the front and switch the signs, but I'll move X to the back and leave it alone. I'll leave it as is. Number 20, we're reflecting over the Y axis. X will switch signs, Y stays the same. I'm changing its left and right placement. So M prime will be X is gonna change signs and Y stays the same. Okay, so now, same thing, we're still translating, and we're gonna add 5 here. -1 plus 5 will give me 4. If I subtract 4 from 3, that will put me at -7. I'm looking for N prime. The 180-degree rotation is our sign switcher. So N prime, 7 was positive, now it's negative. Y was negative, now it's positive. All right, so now we have one that we don't have a rule for, but the line x equals 3, 1, 2, 3, is here. And this is the point -1 and +4. -1, 4. It's going to get folded over that line, so however far it is to the left of the line, it needs to go the same distance to the right of the line. The x placement is -1, and we're going to 0 to 1 to 2 and to 3. That's 4 units long. So I also want to move 4 in this direction. I'm at 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. This was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to put us out at 7. So it didn't change the height. That's the 4. That will remain the same, but the x coordinate is now 7. And on this one, I want you to notice going backward because we have k prime. And we reflected over the line y equals -x, and that's the one that changes everything. So this was the rule that we used going forward. So this number was in the y position with an opposite sign. So the original y was -5. This was in the x position with an opposite sign. So the original x is 2. I suggest writing all the ordered pair rules on the back of your paper. Translate, you just kind of need to know. But I'd write these rules carefully, double check them against the board because they won't be up for the test.